Thanks for tuning in to GTO Good Old Boys. Buckle up and enjoy the show with your host, Paul Ponder.
Hey guys, I'm Paul Ponder. I'm the host of the GTO Good Old Boys podcast at Fishing to Go On. Tonight we're going to talk about a revolutionary new product that's just came out. It's a product that takes care of your fish very, very good. Talking about putting oxygen back in the water, putting it to their gills where they can absorb the oxygen a lot better, make them healthy, keep the stress level down on the fish. That's everything that we're going to talk about. It's called fish lung, and people look at me and say, oh, Paul, fish don't have lung. Well, no, they don't. So that's how we're going to find out how the fish breathe. We're going to find out how oxygen plays a big role in making a fish healthy. We're going to find out what stresses a fish, what they do when they are stressed. We're going to find out what happens to them when they've been in a live well all day long, bashed around, and if there's a delayed mortality rate after they're released at the end of the day. So there's a lot of fish care myths, I guess is the way I want to put it, out there that we've all been going by for years and years. We're going to discuss a few of those also. And we want to ensure the health of the fish we do have on Lake Guntersville so that our kids, grandkids, and great-great-grandkids can really do well in the fishing industry. So that's why we've got Mr. Johnny Johnson here, Dr. Ray Baker with us, and we're going to start with Johnny. Johnny, let us know a little bit about you and how you got involved with fish lung.
Well, I've been involved with fish lung now for about 5 years. Johnny Maxwell, we've been friends for a long time, and he actually came up with the technology, I guess probably about 8 years ago, and brought me in about 5 years ago, and we've worked on it and come as close as you can get to perfecting it, and brought it to market at ICAST last year. And we've been working with trying to establish dealers and trying to get the product out, because the product really does work, and we've got to get it out for it to do what we intended for, and that is to save fish.
Right. That says it in just a few sentences.
Yes, sir.
Now, let's go back up and how does oxygen play a big part in a fish's life?
Well, just like anything, any living species, you got to have oxygen, and oxygen deprivation is what occurs when there's not enough. And fish, you catch a fish, you hook a fish, and that fish is fighting for its life, literally, because it does not know that it's a sport. It does not know that you're going to catch it and then put it in a live well and then release it later in the day. It doesn't know that you don't intend it harm. That fish is fighting for its survival. So it puts everything that it possibly can into that fight. So for a minute and a half, that fish is literally fighting for its life. And then you put it into a tank of water that's not nearly enough water, and it doesn't have enough oxygen in it for that fish to survive long term. So you put that fish in it that's completely physically exhausted, and it needs a high level of oxygen to recover, and it just doesn't exist. So the fish does not get a chance to properly recover. And then what occurs from that lack of oxygen, the first organ that's going to begin to deteriorate is the brain. It's going to suffer the most from oxygen deprivation. And once that damage begins to occur, it's permanent. So that fish, even though when we bring it in at weigh-in, is technically still alive, it suffered from permanent brain damage.
Because of
oxygen deprivation.
Lack of oxygen.
Yes, sir.
Just like an athlete, if you've got a star running back and you've run him 7 plays in a row, he's give out. He holds his hand out.
Yep.
He runs off to the sideline.
Puts that oxygen mask
Puts the oxygen on,
Yep.
and he's back in there ready to go.
Yep.
In how long?
He's got to recover.
2 or 3 plays?
Yes, sir. He's got to get that oxygen in his body for his muscles to recover. And if there's not enough oxygen in that water, in that live well water, then that fish cannot recover. And,
Right.
and that's what's occurring when we put fish in. And typically our live wells do not have enough oxygen in there for that to actually occur.
Okay, now what happens? How do fish get oxygen out of the water?
Well, oxygen is measured in water. It's referred to as dissolved oxygen once it's in water. All right. And the measurement that we use, predominantly in the United States, is ppm, parts per million. It's equivalent of, if you want to use inches or if you want to use centimeters, the metric system. But we use ppm. And typically what's going to occur, first thing in the morning, 5 o'clock, you launch a boat and you fill your live well. Through the night, the water's been calm. It's been dark. So you're pulling water in. Your typical boat is going to draft 12 inches or so. So you're pulling water in from about 12 inches deep in the least oxygenated period of the 24-hour day, which is 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. So there's not a lot of oxygen in that water where you're pulling in from. So you pull this water in, and it's around 6, 6.5, maybe 7 ppm if you're lucky. You flip your live well on, and you can maybe raise that level up about 2 ppm. So you're maybe at 9 ppm at best by the time you throw your first fish in it. Well, that's where that water's going to plateau, and it's going to begin to drop back down. And as you put another fish in it, it's going to drop even more. By the time you get to weigh in, you're lucky if you got 6 ppm in your water, in your live well. All right. Water for bass, especially largemouth, once you get down around 4 ppm, it becomes lethal. They can't survive in it. So that's the reason sometimes when you show up and you got dead fish, your ppm's ultra low. It's the same as suffocating for a human.
Exactly. I see what you're saying. It makes perfectly good sense. Oxygen plays a big part in everybody's life. Everything that lives, oxygen is there, right?
And when the oxygen is not at 100% in the live well, think of it this way. Our atmosphere that we breathe right now is 20.9%. All right? If you go to an environment that is less than that, you're going to instantly feel like you're choking because you can't get enough air. Whether you go to a high altitude environment that you're just simply not accustomed to, or if you get put into some type of enclosure that doesn't have proper airflow, you're going to feel like you're suffocating instantly because the oxygen that you're used to is not there. That's what we do to that fish after we've made it run that 100-yard dash. We throw that fish into that tank that doesn't have the oxygen that it needs to be able to recover, much less live.
And more oxygen that fish gets, the less stress that fish occurs.
That's right. The more oxygen that fish gets right then and there instantly, the better it can recover, the quicker it can recover, and the better chances of its survival throughout the day.
Plus less brain damage.
Well, if they've got enough oxygen, they shouldn't have any brain damage at the end of the day. And the reason that brain damage is so important is once water temperature gets to a certain temperature, I think it's 85 degrees, and this is based off university studies. I think LSU, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, all the universities, several universities in the SEC have done these studies, and all of them are pretty much the same. Once water temperature gets up to 85 degrees, fish mortality gets up around 60% on tournaments. So, and that's roughly down here where we're at, May through late September?
Right.
So that's a long period of time where we have this high water temperature. And we bring in 5 fish per boat. And if it's 100 boats in that tournament, and it's a good tournament, that's 500 fish. And then 60% of those are going to die because of brain damage that occurred from oxygen deprivation.
Right.
Because of the higher your water temperatures, the harder it is to maintain oxygen in that water.
Great. Now, we're fixing to go on a break, and when we come back, we're going to find out how the fish lung works, what type of bubbles it puts out, and why it is so good.
Okay.
Hey, I'm Micah McCreary,
And I'm Rich Fry, and welcome to Truex Outdoors.
the ultimate outdoor show.
So come tag along with us as we experience thrilling adventures in hunting and fishing.
From the mountains to the rivers, we'll bring you the most action-packed outdoor experiences.
Watch us now on NGBN TV.
Truex Outdoors.